Welcome back to another episode of Flipping the Lid. By now, you know what we do here. We are getting people to jump inside. We are getting people to tell us their stories that have shaped their lives, their significance, their success. But ultimately, it's about how it's impacted them and how it's impacting other people. And today, I'm really, really excited for who we have. And I could say that every single week. And you can probably tell the difference. And when I communicate about people, it's about either how much I know them, who I believe them to be, or how we're going to enter into the world. And Shawn is a guy that I was introduced to a few years ago by a mutual friend, one of my mentors, somebody that I've done a lot of work with, David Meltzer. And it was one of those connections that just made sense. When we connected, it was instant. We felt it. It was raw. It was authentic. And the reason is because this man shows up with his heart in every situation. And I believe that he puts himself into the present moment in every moment possible. He had to reinvent himself and has shaped whole industries in the way that they view storytelling and the importance of imagery and connection with your customers. This is an incredible individual who's doing things at a big level and having high levels of impact through his business, not only in the food that they prepare, but in the media and lessons that they teach, preach, and produce. And so, Shawn, brother man, I'm so happy you're here.
Brian, I am so fired up for today's conversation. You're gonna get it all. You get everything from me, and our mentor, David Meltzer, he says that the truth vibrates the fastest. And our job today is to give the most truth to the people listening so that they can take action. My grandfather, I never met my father. I was so fortunate that my immigrant grandfather raised me. And one of the lessons that we say on all the content that we produce is stay curious, get involved, ask for help. No one's going to listen to this content unless you're curious, unless you want to be better. But you actually have to do the work. Mm-hmm. The lessons and the stories that we learn through the people that we connect with, through this truth, you actually got to do the work. And, my grandfather taught me to do the work, to be curious, but then you got to ask for help. There's never been an easier time to ask for help, to connect with people like you, your organization, the truth that you're putting out in the world, and the people that listen to the show. We say a rising tide lifts all ships. Do you know what the difference between a ship and a boat is? Because there's also a rising tide lifts all boats. Do you know the difference?
The size, I believe, but I don't know the specific.
So it's size. A boat can fit inside of a ship. A ship cannot fit inside of a boat. So anyone that's listening to this content, you are a ship. You're a ship in your village. And the lessons that you learn allow you to bring all the other boats on board. So let's get after it. Let's go.
Dude, Shawn, you started with truth, bro. I love it. So here's the beautiful part. I don't know if you know this, and in fact, it probably changed since I was on your show a couple of years ago. My purpose in life is to allow my truth to give others permission to live theirs. Do you realize the resonance of what you just fucking said, bro?
We connected for a reason. I mean, the time that I spent with you on the first Zoom call that we had, I think it was for 15 minutes, and we ended up talking for an hour and a half. And then I had you on my show. I've been following your content, following your story, and I mean, nothing's more exciting for me than understanding where we live in 2023, understanding the scale of the internet, and that if you share that truth with the internet, the more vulnerable you are to share the things that we're scared to share, the things that make us unique. The more that you do that as a leader, the more that you inspire those around you. But it's scary. It's scary.
It's absolutely scary. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people lack the ability, the courage, the desire to actually even stand in their truth, even though they want the freedom that's associated with their truth.
Yep.
And it's very painful to get there. And, obviously, from our world, we're trying to help people identify the trash from their past that no longer serves them so they can take it out and move forward in their lives, right? The reality of it is we don't want to sit there any longer than it points us towards what's important.
Yes.
I'd be curious, since we started on truth and we're sitting here right now, what is your truth as we're in this moment?
My truth is I know that I'm called to do something bigger. And I know that all the work that I've done in 15 years of building a barbecue business, it was always bigger than a restaurant. We opened a restaurant in 2008 in a terrible location where they tell you location. We picked the worst time, the worst location, the most difficult business. And 15 years taught us that the internet is real. Web 2.0, Web 3.0, however you want to call the internet, storytelling matters. And we're at a place where so many people are making an impact with their truth because they're really good at doing four things, and that's audio, video, words, and images. If you can do stories on the internet and you can do them at scale, you can have the impact that you want to make in whatever business you're in, whatever your hopes and dreams are. But you have to have the courage to know, because I was, to be honest with you, the real unlock came for me was failing in my business, of knowing that we couldn't pay our bills and we couldn't pay payroll and I couldn't get anyone to come into our restaurant, even though I thought we had great food and we had great hospitality. When I realized no one's coming to tell my story, I thought if I did amazing, if I cooked amazing barbecue every single day, if I mastered the craft on the West Coast, everyone laughed at us for being a barbecue brand. You can't do barbecue. You're not from Texas. You're not from Kansas City. But we learned. We made a bunch of bad barbecue every single day, working. Mamba mentality, make it better every single day. Eventually, you'll get good at it. Eventually, someone's going to come. Be so good they can't ignore you. Eventually, someone's going to come and they're going to tell everyone our story. And people are going to come and we'll have a successful business. The truth is no one's coming. And everyone wants it to be someone else's job. Social media isn't someone else's job. It's your job. You that's listening to this. The internet needs you. The internet wants you. You just have to have the courage to go in selfie mode, to remove the ego, to know that no matter how much you stutter, no matter what you say in the beginning, all those butterflies you feel in your stomach, who's going to make fun of me? Oh, my friend's going to think I'm stupid. Who do you think you are, some influencer? We've all been through there. The amount of people that made fun of me for posting on Facebook back when I was starting our business, Facebook was just a free tool. I made fun of my best friend who I opened up the restaurant with. I said, "What are you doing on Facebook? We're trying to run a business." He goes, "I don't know. I'm just on Facebook." I'm like, "We're not trying to pick up girls here, man. We need to run this business. We need to get..." And then it was an unlock for me realizing, oh my God, this is a free tool as a business owner to talk about our restaurant, to share the stories of what's happening in our village. And now it's just been this deep, deep thesis of they're all just digital playgrounds. We have to have the courage to go in and figure out, I don't know what TikTok is. TikTok's not just for dancing. TikTok's for ideas. How do you spread ideas? I mean, TED Talks are ideas worth spreading. The internet spreads ideas really well if you have the courage to share those ideas.
You just hit on a really common pattern in our human experience. Things that we don't understand, don't have enough context on. We can either quickly dismiss, cause a judgment, have an expectation, and frankly, even in some cases, give shit to people we love and care about around something that they might see value in when we don't.
Yeah.
Take me back to that moment where you were teasing your partner. What were you actually feeling inside, and what was kind of the progression before you started to open up to the idea?
It's interesting when I think about that story, and I think of them as oh shit moments, kind of like these unlock moments where I had something that was blocking me and not knowing what was blocking me, thinking this is something that I don't understand. Facebook, the Meta, the biggest platform there is. I had this same feeling back when I was in high school, and they told me that I needed to use a computer to write my paper. And I go, why do I need to use a computer? I don't want to use a computer. I can just use a typewriter. I can just write it. It was this fear of going, why? And the fear, to be honest with you, the fear is I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want people to know that I don't know. I'm fortunate to be paid to go and speak on stages all over the world about restaurants, about hospitality. And I talk about this unlock that happened to me with my Apple phone. When I had an iPhone, I made fun of someone else who had an iPhone. I was like, I'm not going to have an iPhone. That's not what I don't understand that technology. I don't understand Apple. Eventually I caved in. I got the Apple iPhone. But the same thing, Apple Pay, putting a credit card on my phone. I didn't want to put a credit card on my phone because I didn't want to be the guy in line at Vons or at Whole Foods or at Walmart or at Home Depot where I'm holding up the line because I don't know how to use it. I don't want people to judge me in line because I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about. I literally host 4 different podcasts. I have a show on digital hospitality. I sit on advisory boards for technology companies, publicly traded technology companies. Yet I don't know anything about technology. I'm just willing to ask the questions. I'm just willing to go to the digital playground. And the reason why I call it a digital playground is because I have small kids. I have a 5-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. And the way that I think of social media and technology is the same way that I watch my kids when they go to the playground. When they go to the playground, what do? We all do the path of least resistance. Well, what am I comfortable doing? I can walk up the stairs and I can go down the slide. And what happens? As a father, I go and I watch my daughter and I hold her hand up the stairs and she goes down the slide. Well, she sees a bunch of other equipment that's on the playground that she's not comfortable with. The same thing that we do on the internet. We're comfortable with email. Why are we comfortable with email? Eventually, at one point, we weren't comfortable with email. We're comfortable with text messages. We haven't been texting all the time. All of these things that we take for granted, psychology, like the psychology behind the power that we have in our phones, this smartphone. If we have the courage to look stupid, sound stupid, and do what other people are not doing, you become the ship. Literally. I talk to people and the unlock, once they start posting selfie videos about their thoughts, about their ideas, about their business, about their hopes, about their dreams, about their failures, the more consistent they are in posting it, they tell me, they're like, Shawn, I can't believe I've been consuming content on the internet for as long as I have, and I haven't had the courage to do it. Now that I'm doing it, other people around me are asking me, how do I do it?
Because they believe it's possible when they have a model and an example that exists in front of them.
That's correct.
And, it's really fascinating because there's a lot of my life and the damage that was created in it because I didn't have a healthy model for what human connection really could look like. And I chased the what's of the world for a long time because that's what I believed I needed to do. And it caused me to lose, who I was in the process. You're demonstrating with vulnerability so clearly where you've been stuck in your life and as it related to the fear of judgment connected to a whole variety of things. I have my own belief on this, but it's interesting because there is a belief system that exists out there that ego is said to be essential in business.
Yeah.
What does ego mean to you and how has it helped you or hurt you?
I mean, I think ego has prevented me from so many things. When we say stay curious, get involved, ask for help, asking for help was the hardest lesson for me to learn. Asking for help as somebody that believes in the internet, that believes in curiosity, that believes in reading books, finding the answer, running through walls, doing whatever I have to do to succeed. Asking for help is me removing my ego, saying, I don't know. And not knowing puts me vulnerable as a place where I thought you're supposed to know. The real unlock is not knowing, is asking for clarification. I can't tell you how many times I sat in class. I had no idea what the teacher was saying, no idea what the professor was saying, but I wouldn't raise my hand because I didn't want to look stupid around my friends. I didn't want to be judged. Same thing in sports. But now what I teach business owners is that the people that win are the ones that raise their hand. They're the ones that sit in front of the class. They're the ones that stay after and ask for help. I used to make fun of them. I used to make fun of those people. Oh, you're being a kiss ass. You're trying to kiss ass to the teacher. No, they're asking for clarification. And the chances are that clarification question, most of the class needed it anyways. Just no one had the courage to ask it.
I often say ego is armor. I think our ego-based consciousness is typically entering into the places that we are inherently protectionary.
Yeah.
Protectionary of ourselves, protectionary of others. And I know that ego in so many capacities can be seen, especially in this hustle culture that exists around us, as something that's going to separate you, make you better, more competitive. I'm curious, what is the most important lesson you want your kids to learn on the topic of ego?
It's an interesting question because, you know, having a son that's 5 years old and thinking about the things that I care deeply about, and a daughter that's 3, and watching the dynamic of them both growing up. And right now they're both at the same daycare, but he's, you know, the big man on campus. He's the popular one, the gregarious one, the one that all the teachers love and all the kids love. I mean, the kids just got hospitality running through his veins.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to think through what are the conversations that I want to have with him, and understanding that failure is good, that failure helps get through that ego. You know, there's just, you know, taking him to school. I remember one of the first things that I tried to teach him was, why do we fall down? You know, he would fall down and get hurt. And I would say, son, Colleen, why do we fall down? He goes, I don't know, Dad. It's so that we can learn how to get back up. And that's Batman. You know, that's from the movie Batman, but it's such a powerful lesson when you tell the kids all the time, it's okay to fall down.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem, is that we spend so much time telling them it's not okay to fail. It's not okay to do anything, but we have to encourage the failure, because the more that we fail, and back to the ego part, is I have to tell him I'm proud of him for failing. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of you for falling down. Not just I'm proud of you for painting a beautiful picture or for doing good on your report card. I have to be proud of you for getting in trouble. What did you do with the accountability side of being in trouble? Because all of our actions matter. You know, and for me, I was fortunate that my grandfather was this incredible patriarch for my family. I never met my father. I'm always going to be yearning for that fatherly mm-hmm. approval that I never had as a kid. I still yearn for it today from my wife. And she's from Bulgaria. She's from the old country. She's like, that's not my love language. Yeah. Good luck. Like, that's not who I am. And I can't fault her for that, but that doesn't mean that I won't have the yearning for it. But to your question of what do I do with my kids, it's I have to have open and honest conversations about them, about the things that I've learned. And I have to know that, you know, it's amazing to me thinking about how smart they are.
Oh, dude.
5-year-old and 3-year-old. And when I think that I'm ready to talk to them like a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, I have to stop myself and go, no, explain it. Explain the lesson in adult language and respect their intelligence.
Yes.
Because then it's going to teach me how to better tell them that lesson.
Beautifully said, brother. And I would tell you that that same thing exists in our house. We've always tried to keep it as age appropriate to whatever access to language they have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my wife and I have always tried to live by example and communicate truth in every situation to our children, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, right? We have a really interesting situation going on right now that has to do with a friend my daughter has that had a very traumatic childhood for her first 6 to 7 years, which is causing relationship issues in their 7-year-old group of friends and all of the toxicity that's being let out at school. And I want to be really, really clear. My wife and I'm grateful enough to recognize that this is a part of life. It's not this girl's fault. We're doing everything we can, but a lot of parents in situations like this remove their parents from it and say, I just don't want you around that influence.
Correct.
And instead, we are trying to communicate as best as possible to prepare our children for the fact that this is life.
Yes.
I often say to my kids, I wish this wasn't true, but it is. You are only judged based on your actions. You will never be judged based on your intent. And so it's a matter of really getting ourselves to this place of clarity so that we can own our truth and stand in it confidently.
It's hard. It's really hard to do when you think about celebrating the difficulties of life. Mm-hmm. You know, just thinking about my son this morning, he started showing me his muscles. Like, Dad, check these out. Look how strong I am.
That's the best when that happens.
Pythons out. And it's like, Colleen, that's amazing. Dude, your muscles are so big. But it's understanding that that's one part. I don't want to just feed his ego to say, this is what matters to Dad. This is what's going to make Dad happy and proud of you. No, what's going to make dad happy and proud of you is understanding that you have muscles, and a lot of the other boys and girls in your class might not have muscles. They might not develop the way that you do. How do I teach him love and compassion
Bingo.
for people that are weaker?
Bingo.
How do I do that? And I'm learning how to do that. Like every single day, you know, in my LinkedIn profile, it says new dad. And I'll have people, they'll get on a Zoom call with me and we'll talk. They're like, oh, congratulations on being a new dad. How old are your kids? I'm like 5 and 3. Like, well, you're not really a new dad. I'm like, every single day I'm a new dad.
Every single day I'm a new dad.
Every day I'm a new dad.
Yeah, that is so the truth. You know, they've definitely been the greatest reflection for us in our household. And I would tell you that my wife and I have always had this general belief that clearly aligns with yours. I always wanted my kids to know who they are and love who they are and be able to advocate for who they are in the world. Because I believe if those 3 things exist, they are going to be able to love, have compassion, advocate, stand up for, and communicate for all of those that weren't given the same skill sets, weren't given the same lessons, didn't understand that your voice is a representation of you and you can bring it into the world anytime you want, as long as we're not intending to damage or create harm. That's in our world, right? I'm not going to shame them if that happens. But again, if you have intent to hurt, I want that to be held accountable. That said, I'm really curious. If you look back on your life, you know, you beat all odds in 2008. You've been kicked in the nuts time and time and time again in your life, right? What was the period of the greatest amount of hurt that you experienced?
The greatest amount of hurt is probably, you know, recently part of my business was I was going to be a part of one of my best friends. We had started this media company together, this Behind the Smoke media company. And our goal was to help him build his brand, which was a butcher shop brand and a grocery store. And we had a lot of opportunity to do that in La Jolla, actually a place that I grew up in. So we had made a lot of commitments to each other that we were going to open up this new butcher shop and I was going to help him. And one of the things that we realized, you know, we had been doing business together, putting on barbecue festivals for 10 years. But one of the things that I realized was I was not him. And he realized he wasn't me. You know, he wanted me to be him while he wasn't there. And that was a big realization for me, is that if I do this, I will make millions of dollars, but I will be miserable because I will never live up to his expectations of what he wants me to be. And it was a very dark moment in my entire professional career because, as anyone knows, we have a barbecue media company and I've been laughed at for 15 years building this. And now we are doing 6-figure brand deals with multiple hospitality brands. And this is just the beginning. I mean, we have a show on Entrepreneur that reached 12 million people last year. I had Chef Robert Irvine, Emeril Lagasse, Rob Dyrdek, some of the biggest names and thought leaders in hospitality and storytelling on our show. And now we have brands, Pepsi, Uber Eats, all these companies that are reaching out to us to help tell their story. You know, everything comes down to telling your story. And if it matters to the person that's listening, to you, the listener, it matters to publicly traded companies. Like this stuff is not going anywhere. You know, and for me, I had to, in a very dark place, make a decision that it would be better before we went down the path of having this true partnership and opening this up, of knowing that this isn't what I want for myself. This isn't where my potential lies. My potential lies in doing exactly what I'm doing right now. And if you talk to anyone that's in restaurants, anyone that's in hospitality, there is nowhere on earth that tells you in order to run a successful restaurant, you need to go on more podcasts. What's the ROI is what people
aren't you that source on earth doing that?
I
was like, you said there's nobody, but bro, I'm pretty sure you are.
I'm pretty sure. I guess that's me. That's me. We believe in deep theses and doing deep work and hard work because it's a long game. This is a marathon. You know, I tell business owners all the time that, you know, business leaders we all want to be the rabbit, you know, the rabbit in the race. We put that video on the internet and it goes viral and it makes us successful. The one that always wins is the tortoise. The tortoise always wins the race. Are you willing every single day, no matter who's watching, who likes your videos, who cares about what you have to say? Are you willing to consistently show up every single day and be a little bit better and do that over the long term? Because the craft of storytelling, online storytelling, people in real life have been doing this forever. It's just we're at the intersection of the greatest part of the internet, where you and I can have this conversation, and this can go out to thousands, hundreds of thousands, hopefully millions of people to help improve their lives if they're willing to hear the message.
That's right. That's absolutely right. You know, it is interesting, though. I was having a conversation with my father-in-law this last week, and I'm going to come back to the story that you just told, by the way. Thank you for your vulnerability, but I have to go on this thought, or I'm going to lose it.
Please.
You know, he was high up in press, Associated Press, and a lot of the storytelling venues. He's been a professional photographer for 50 years, right? And literally around the art of storytelling. And we were having this conversation the other day because I feel like there's not a lot of real storytelling that takes place in the mass media today.
Correct.
It's starting to happen in micro ways through this shift in social, but literally we're starving for vulnerability. We're starving for authenticity. And it's just all this toxicity. And again, I'm not saying what the source is. It's just, there's not a lot of really good storytelling taking place. CBS Sunday Morning, I think, is one of the last original, like, good storytelling programs that exists on television. Where do you think are the top sources of really good storytelling today? And then I want to jump back to the last question.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's the internet. To be honest with you, it's the people that
everybody who done it.
The people that are listening to this, the things that get me the most excited are the communities of people that understand that their story matters. Mm-hmm. Your voice matters. Mm-hmm. No one has your perspective. And this goes, I tell a CEO of a publicly traded company, down to a founder, down to somebody that works in sales, you work in marketing, if you're an engineer, I don't care what you do. If you're an attorney, it literally does not matter what you do. If you're willing to share your story about the things that you work on, the things that keep you up at night, the things that you want to achieve. If you talk about being a dad, if you talk about being a mom, talk about being an aunt, an uncle, all of the things that make you uniquely you, that's what's different. We all sit there consuming content. What makes us stop? What makes us stop scrolling is when someone's real. Be real with me. You know, what we teach people is be the show, not the commercial. Be the show, not the commercial. The world wants to think that as a business owner, I need to produce a commercial, like a Super Bowl commercial. Well, my 5-year-old son and my 3-year-old daughter, when they're watching YouTube, they know how to hit skip. Skip the ad. We're too smart. We are way too smart to be interrupted with a commercial. But when someone's real, when someone's authentic, when they're talking to me, now I'm listening. Yeah. It's the same reason as a restaurant owner, I post videos that no other restaurant owner is going to post. I post videos about our hardware and our software, the technology that we're bringing into our restaurant. Do you think that's going to get me anyone to come buy more barbecue? No. But all the other restaurant owners that follow us on Instagram, they go, wow, look what they're doing for online ordering. Correct. I've heard of Toast. Why should I be using Toast? They're making the decision. Now I'm having a deeper conversation with Toast, who is now literally, I'm on their customer advisory board. I was invited as one of 20 restaurateurs to their IPO, paid to go out to their IPO. They're the title sponsor of our show. Are you willing to do what other people are unwilling to do? Because the stories are all around us. We make decisions every single day about our business. Every single day. And what I'm telling you is every decision you make, you might think it's mundane and boring, but it matters.
I always say that every moment and every breath matters. And what flows through your ability to be in this moment and be real, which is the only thing that exists that's real, is this moment. And how you show up in it is everything. You talked about the importance of storytelling, the importance of doing some of the difficult things, putting yourself out there and doing something. And, you kind of subtly embedded the difficulty of separating with a very close friend, business partner, right? But it was really through the lens of a gap in expectations, in who each person would be and how you showed up. And it was also done in a way that you were able to have enough self-awareness to recognize a lack of congruency with where you were headed.
Yeah.
How quickly did you become aware of the lack of congruency, and how quickly did you act on it?
It was because the relationship, I mean, because we had been close friends. I mean, he's one of my closest friends. He was at the birth of my son. And thankfully we still have the friendship, but it's nowhere near as close as it was. It was, you know, it was a period of a couple dark months, you know, and those dark months I had to reach out to my inner circle to make sure that I wasn't crazy, you know, to make sure that the things that I was thinking, the things that I was building, you know, this podcasting journey, and I say podcast and people think audio storytelling, but podcasting is more of us, you know, becoming a media company, believing in storytelling. This is so much bigger than, you know, having a show on Entrepreneur. This goes back to, you know, helping my grandfather write his life story, you know, helping him, the village boy, write his life story and share his story. Every single time that I'm spending time with anybody that has energy, positive energy, that truth needs to be shared with the world. We have all the technology in our pocket to share that truth. That's why we call it smartphone storytelling. It's not iPhone storytelling. It doesn't matter what your smartphone is. You have the internet, you have a phone, you have the camera app. That's all you need to share your story with the world. And I knew that this opportunity, no matter if it was going to make me millions of dollars, would put me in a position where I wasn't pursuing what my potential was. And the more that I had those dark conversations with myself of knowing, are you willing to do this? Are you willing to go down this road and to chase what you've been building and what you know is right? I realized that I had to have the uncomfortable conversation. And I had to figure out a way to continue to pursue our thesis. And our thesis is that we're living in the greatest time ever to be in business, ever. To do anything. We can connect with people all over the globe. I don't need to make I don't need to make YouTube. I don't need to make TikTok. Call it whatever you want to call it. You know, we have these subjective feelings towards the logos of these. When I say Facebook, people, depending on your age, you think a certain thing. When I say Twitter, you think Elon Musk. Like everyone, we think these things for no reason. It's just words, images, audio, and video. That's it. Like just get good at doing that. Get uncomfortable doing that.
Yeah. Words, images, video, and audio. It's incredible. And I think the combination of them is essential because we know that the way that things are communicated, we only receive 7% of our language through the words, 38% through the tone, the cadence, and the delivery, and 55% through the nonverbals.
Yep.
And so what's really beautiful about the platform that you're helping people step into and the access to technology that they have is that it's literally only them that's preventing them from creating the videos. You know, we say often that truly people believe they're stuck because they think they have the wrong strategy and tactics in their world. Strategy and tactics are critically important, but they only are effective in helping you leverage and scale your life. They are not the thing that keep you stuck. And so it's always in here. We talked earlier about truth and courage and ego. Okay. You also, again, subtly embedded it, but it was a profound statement that I want to acknowledge is that the trash from your past is that you're still seeking love and validation and connection through performing in a certain way with your wife and potentially other relationships in your world.
Yep.
You volunteered that one. What I'm curious about is what part of your truth do you lack the courage to stand in today? And what is the truth that you're continuing to seek that you're courageous enough in creating?
I would say it's the financial side of the business. Even proving that a barbecue business can become a media business and become more profitable, I still sit here vulnerable today, knowing that the financial metrics that I have currently, not what I'm building, don't work. So I have to keep chasing. I have to keep dreaming. I have to keep investing in the thing that I know no matter what, if I stop doing anything, this will work to the end of the earth. Howard Schultz, 242 times he was rejected from a bank. 242 no's before he created Starbucks. I have to have the courage and the willingness in myself to know that now that I'm ready to go raise capital, which I've never had to raise capital, I've self-financed all of this, re-put money back in. I have to have the courage to know, hey, Shawn, dude, you've done deals. Mm-hmm. You're part of the 1% of podcasters, 3 million podcasters on earth that are generating revenue from media. Mm-hmm. Understanding how to structure a media deal. How many content creators are out there that do not understand the business side of it? I understand the business side of it. I believe in the business side of it. And I know that there's no better way for any brand to tell their story than to do about the things that we're talking about here today. Yeah. Yet I have to live in my truth of knowing that all of my hopes, all of my dreams are rested for my family, knowing that my wife is secure, knowing that my kids are secure, knowing that my barbecue business is secure, my media team, it's all on me. This is all in shit. And if I don't live this all in shit, and if I don't go and talk about it, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. I have to eat my own medicine. I have to ask for my own help. I have to go to the people that I admire and respect the most and say, hey, I need help. What's the best way to raise money for what I'm trying to do?
I love that you were able to articulate that one of your greatest challenges was learning to ask for help. I resonate with that because it was definitely one of mine. But I'll tell you that what was even more difficult than learning how to ask for help was actually putting myself in a position to receive.
True.
Can you talk about that and how that's impacted you in your life, if that's been an issue, or how you've been able to successfully receive after you asked?
Receiving is a great topic because you have to be willing to receive. Mm-hmm. And back to the classroom example and the school example, when you ask the question, be careful with the answer, because then you might actually have to do the work. And sometimes it might not be the answer that you want either. So you have to weigh that out to understand, is this the best advice? Because I've known, based off of my years of building this barbecue business and media business, that 99% of the people I'm going to ask, even when I have the courage to ask, they don't have a fucking clue what I'm building. So the chances are the answer might not be the answer that I want, right, or the answer that's going to get me to where I need to go. So when I do hear the answer and I try to surround myself with people that are already living in the position that I want to live in, which is why I have mentors like David Meltzer and Sam the Cooking Guy and Rob Dyrdek and people like this that are actually playing the game within the game. Because there's the game that's happening that we all see. Then there's the people that are actually building significant businesses and making a significant impact.
Yeah.
I want to make a significant impact. I want other restaurant owners, hospitality professionals, small business owners to have the freedom to not have to work their fucking ass off 7 days a week in their business, to barely make any money, to barely figure out how to pay the bills. That's bullshit. We're too good for that. And we have the internet now. Now we can sell things online. Now we can create courses. We can make money while we're asleep if we're willing to do the work to make that happen.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting, all of the things that you continue to integrate in this conversation. I just think it's beautiful. I'm seeing a lot of advancements in AI in many spaces in the world, but it seems as if in hospitality, it's on the brink of potentially being a big shift. And I saw some stuff on your page where we're having fully automated, no people in certain locations in places like McDonald's and Taco Bell. Can you talk about your opinion on that dynamic happening and where the advantages and disadvantages could lie for AI with the people that you are serving?
You know, humans are the heart of hospitality.
Say that again.
Humans are the heart of hospitality.
Bingo.
And humans are also the heart of technology. The more that I've worked with tech founders, the people that are building the tools and the things that make our lives easier, make our lives quicker, the more that I realize they too care about hospitality. They too care about memorable moments. It always comes back to time.
Mm-hmm.
We all want time. Like, we realize that our time is finite. We only get a limited amount of that. So how do we incorporate these things, technology that's all around us? You know, I tell business owners all the time that are resistant to change, that are resistant to doing online ordering, that are resistant to improving their website. Well, I want people to come in. I want to talk to them in person. Well, listen, there's technology across multiple industries that have solved these problems, that have made the guest experience actually much better. When we walked into a Walmart or to a Home Depot 5 years ago and we saw a self-check kiosk line, probably just like me, made judgment, said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have somebody else check me out. Why would I check out my own groceries, bag my own groceries? Now, when we walk into the same store and we see a line with someone checking out and there's a self-checkout, you're going to go to the self-checkout. Why? Because you know how to do it. It's the same thing when you go to an airport. It's the same thing when you go to a restaurant. It's the same thing when I go to a stadium. We have these perceptions of technology taking away from experience, taking away jobs, you know, specifically to your question about my Instagram posts about Taco Bell and McDonald's. I have a lot of people saying, oh my God, they're taking away jobs. And what I argue is, no, they're not.
Creating jobs.
They're actually creating better jobs for our industry, because the people in our industry can use their minds instead of their hands.
And they can elevate in the income scale by no longer being frontline minimum wage and tip only type people.
Correct.
What I appreciate about your answer, and this is what I was hoping for, because I expected it from you. I remove expectations in many places in life, but I knew that your heart was going to deliver on this. I think the only way artificial intelligence works is if we invest in the other kind of AI, which is awareness and intentionality.
Yes.
It's about the integration of how do we leverage, again, the strategy and tactics, the technology, the tools, and the resources that we have available to us, and put ourselves in the best position possible to evaluate the variables, make decisions, and move forward. But the only way to do that and maintain truth and authenticity is if awareness and intentionality are side by side with your integration and implementation of artificial intelligence in your business. I don't care what industry you're in.
That's correct. I mean, anybody that's listening to this conversation, you have a LinkedIn profile. Every single person has been DM'd on LinkedIn with an AI bot that has told you, I'm this person, here's my sales pitch. And then 2 days later, they follow up and they're trying to cultivate a lead. We all know, we're humans. We know that it's bullshit. Context. What kind of conversations do you want to have? What kind of business do you want to do? What kind of impact do you want to have? If you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to reach out to the people that you care about, to the people that move you, to the people that inspire you, there's no gatekeepers anymore. Like, how amazing is that? You want to have a conversation with David Meltzer? You reach out to David Meltzer. He makes it as easy as possible to reach out to him. If you want to talk to Brian and his team are accessible to you listening to this show. Stop right now. Send him a DM on any platform. They will get back to you. They will help you with your business. They will help you with your mission.
All true.
Reach out to me. You have no idea. But you know what? Are you going to be like the rest of the class that sits there and nods their head and go, yeah, I agree with what you're saying? Or are you going to ask a question? Are you going to raise your hand?
Speaking of being like the rest of the class, I have this belief that there's a lot of people out there talking, but very few people with something to say.
True.
And I have a whole lot of reasons why I believe that. And I'm not trying to vilify anybody, but I know that you are not advocating to grab your cell phone and just go put shit out that looks like everybody else because it's what's trendy and what's working. And so what are the 4 things? You say video, audio, words
and images.
And images, okay? Words, images, video, and audio.
Yep.
How are you advising and coaching people to tell their story and stand out with something to say?
Number one, it starts with courage. It starts with you knowing that it's the right thing to do. And I know if you're consuming this content, you know it's the right thing to do because you feel the butterflies in your stomach. And you know that you have to talk to that cell phone, that smartphone, and you have to share a story about who you are and what you do. You have to acknowledge that you matter. You wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't believe that you matter. You wouldn't be leveling up. You wouldn't be making the decisions that you're making to spend the time with me and Brian right now. And I know it makes you nervous because I was nervous too. I was terrified. All it is something that you're doing it in real life every single day. You're building your business. You're building your career every single day. You're being a dad. You're being a mom. You're making an impact on your community. You're giving back. The answer is just the internet. Just tell it to the internet. Like it's just not that complicated. We all understand what the answer is. It's having the courage to do it, knowing that someone's going to make fun of you. You know, Daryl Stinson, I'm not sure if you know who Daryl Stinson is.
So true, by the way. I think Meltzer makes fun of me more than anybody, though.
Well, you have to hang out with, you know, it's the ship mentality. Once you hang out with other ships, we all know that we've all been made fun of. And we continue to get made fun of.
Yeah.
The more that we're willing to go on these digital playgrounds, go onto the merry-go-round or go onto the swings, go try these things, they're all the same. Once you realize that all of these things are all the same, all the storytelling platforms are all the same, then you can go to other playgrounds and you realize there's other people there. No matter where you are on earth. I mean, I have the New York skyline behind me. I'm in San Diego. I have this New York skyline behind me because it helps me think bigger. Understanding that everything that I talk about here in San Diego, it matters to the small business owner in New York. It matters to the big business owner in New York. It matters to the village in Bulgaria. Every single thing that I talk about, no matter where you are on earth, this shit matters. Mm-hmm. But it only matters if you're willing to get in the game. You got to be willing to get your smartphone dirty. You got to be willing to make a bunch of shitty videos. You got to be willing to get made fun of. If you're willing to do that today and do it again tomorrow and the day after that, 100 days, 100 videos, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
If nobody likes your videos, you'll have 100 different videos to go, I like this one better. I like this one better. But you got to do it. The answer to the internet, quantity, speed, consistency equals quality. The problem is we all want quality first. Quality does not come first. You've got to be willing to have the courage to know that your story matters. And I'm here to tell you that your story does matter.
I'm going to second that. And, you know, we have a saying, turn the camera on and just start talking.
Yes.
I turned the camera on in 2015 and started talking. And anybody who goes to my YouTube channel and looks back in the beginning stages of Bogart's Bullets and those first couple of videos that were launched, I look back on them today and I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good. They're not the same after I've produced tens of thousands of other videos in the last 8 years.
Yep.
What are the closing thoughts or words you'd like to leave everybody with? Man, you've been dropping bombs and we could have wrapped on your last question, but let us know how we can find you because I want everybody to be able to follow you and reach out to ask for help. And what do you want to leave everyone with?
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's at Shawn P. Walchef, SHAWN PWALCHEF, and that's on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all the platforms. The show that we have 4 shows, but the most important one for this audience, I think, is Restaurant Influencers. You don't have to be in the restaurant business. It's a storytelling podcast. I have the greatest storytellers on earth, and that's on entrepreneur.com. Restaurant Influencers is the show. And, you know, I'll always leave with stay curious, get involved, ask for help. The most important thing that you can do is to do the work that no one else is willing to do. You know, it's there's an analogy that Daryl Stinson, one of my friends, another Meltzer Connect, he told me when we were on the show, when I had him on my show, he's like, you know what you're doing? You're doing a digital flash mob. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, you have to have the courage to do a digital flash mob. Mm-hmm. Well, what's a flash mob? A flash mob is you have to be willing to be crazy in the middle of the town square and dance to music that no one else hears and everyone makes fun of you. But if you're willing to do that, eventually one more person will join you in the town square, and then two more people. And then all of a sudden, you, the ship in your village, the ship in your industry, will start having the conversations that me and Brian are so fortunate to have now, because we're willing to be stupid, to look stupid, sound stupid. We don't have the answers. We just have the courage to go up here and do it, knowing that hopefully it resonates with one person. I hope that you're that one person. I hope that you make that one video today, and that launches the trajectory of you making videos all the time, launching your own show and turning into your own media company. Because media is better than marketing. Be the show, not the commercial.
Man, dropping bombs. Here's the reality, everybody. Shawn showed up and he's living his truth. The amount of time that he didn't have courage in his life to look inside and recognize the trash from his past that had him stuck, he could not ignore after the heaviness and the resistance would smack him in the face, and realize that he realized that's the only way through is through. He had to look inside. He had to understand. He had to extract lessons. And he's doing it in such a powerful way that he's not only put himself into a media mogul that's just getting started, but someone who's elevating and empowering you and so many other entrepreneurs to be able to learn how to tell effective storytelling with the tool we all have in our pocket. Here's the thing. If we have audio, video, images, and words, and you can identify and take out the trash from your past that's weighing you down and keeping you stuck, you can move through the fear of judgment and stand in your truth. And that is when you move through this world and connect at the deepest level. Learn from Shawn, reach out to him, and watch what he's doing, because they are shaping and impacting lives at a massive level, all with this tool that each and every one of you have. Till next time, flip your lid and scan your can.